Looks like we're live now. We can start randomly looking through code and seeing what we don't need, I guess.
Yep.
Let me close. Oops. Okay. So let's just close all of this stuff and pick a random spot, I guess. Well, let's do
sharing
this.
your screen?
Oh yeah. Oops. Okay. So let's do a random search for 113. Thought there was something, maybe not. 2.7. Too much stuff. Hold on. Wait. 210. Okay. So I guess we still need this because we need it for 2.8. Not sure if we need all of this though. So I guess the best way to check, we can do bunch of crazy stuff here so that we can run Ember try on 2.8. We'll just see, make sure that runs first. Nope. Probably called something else. So LTS-2.8. If you guys want to really look through stuff in Ember debug or even I guess app, app definitely only needs like latest stuff. So I'm not sure if it has anything weird.
Yeah, from what you said before, it seems like it probably doesn't have too much, but hard to say. Computed.
What's this? Oh, SVG versions. Okay. Yeah, actually, so there's not much obvious commented, which is good, I guess. This is taking forever. Okay. Okay, so that works. So
So let's see what we're looking at here. If there's a corner tree.
I guess it's also not guaranteed that we have a test around this, but let's just delete this else. Let's see what happens. Oops, too much.
It says there that 2.8 also needs this code, but isn't that our minimum version?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the test passed without it, which means we probably don't have a test for it.
Okay.
Either that or it's not really needed.
Yeah.
So this is for preview layer.
How does it seems like it would mean that we have the either yeah, like you said, there's no test for the preview layer for this.
So what tests do we have? Let's see. This is view debug. We've got. Let's do a search. So we trigger a preview layer. Just assert that it doesn't throw an error.
Doesn't throw an error.
Okay. Well, do we do anything else with it? No. Okay, so we need some better tests for this.
Yeah, so what is this supposed to do?
Or maybe it is. Okay, so we are manually triggering it here. But we're using. Got all this other preview stuff. Highlighting views on hover seems to still work. So I don't know about the specific preview layer, why this is different than
Yeah, I mean, this code is to actually highlight the layer, and the test above seems to be doing that right on hover.
Yeah, so I guess we're not testing it. So we are testing if it's highlighted up here.
Yeah.
Highlighting views on hover. But we aren't using preview layer in that for some reason. We're manually doing inspect views.
Yeah.
Which I guess is testing the opposite way of hovering.
Oh, because is inspect views the oh crap, I can't remember now.
I think inspect views is like if you are on the page and you do the like mouse inspect button thing, and then you hover the page itself instead of hovering the inspector. So I think what we also need is like basically duplicate the where did that one go? Yeah, duplicate this and do like an actual hover, I guess, or maybe duplicate this one. I don't know which is better to do. So I guess we would have the same assertions as this. Let's make this more clear. The page. What did you guys say here? Page elements, and then like the other one could be inspector elements or something. I don't know.
Probably like one of these I guess is with it's sort of like you're actually in the view tree inside the inspector. I think is what one of them is. And then we're saying because I think that's what this guy is doing, right?
So we'll duplicate this. And we'll say letting views on hovering the view tree and inspector.
Can we take a second? Can we take a second and actually maybe go and just look at this in the actual browser? Like maybe we should go to the Ember, go to a website with the Ember thing just to make sure we kind of know what we're talking, where we're thinking we're going to see.
Yeah.
We did this last week. I was always getting confused between the two. So just to kind of like, we can even just open up like the Ember Docs website maybe, or the API. Just open up the inspector really quick and just hover on both of those just to kind of see.
Yeah. So fun fact, the Ember websites are not really deployed as Ember apps right now.
That's right. Thinking of the API docs are, but shipshape.io is.
Yeah. So do. And now that I'm thinking about this some more, I think the tests for this part are probably in like the app tests.
Oh, you mean like the actual like extension itself?
Yeah, so there's the acceptance test for the app itself, yeah. Let me see if there's preview in here, preview layer. Yeah. So we would want to, I guess, make sure this test works in 2.8 as well. Which it probably won't. Let's see. Let's just run the whole test suite on 2.8 and see what happens. I shouldn't have killed that. Okay, it's going to take a minute. So you want to run through, well, this is going to take a long time. So do you want to run through the Vue or React DevTool stuff and see what we like from there while we're waiting?
Yeah.
That'd be good. Yeah, briefly. Let's see. Do you have a good example of a page with React DevTools that works?
I have some stuff open here. Can share my screen. So yeah, I just opened the Vue documentation. I was just looking at their DevTools.
Hey, they support Dark.
Yeah. So they at least have like just components, data, events, and refresh the page. Pretty basic.
Okay, so the components by default collapse up, and then you have to expand them, or?
I mean, in this page, there are only 3 components. And there are multiple routes. I'm not really familiar with that. But
okay.
You see, you hover the components, and then you see them highlight in the page.
Mm-hmm.
So scroll in if you, well, there's a bug. And it's kind of nice to have access to the props right here. I think in some cases you can change them.
Nice.
In some ways, I think for us, this is probably like the React DevTools, if I remember right, those try to show the props in line a lot of times, but then when you get a whole bunch of props, like you have the same problem that you would in like a normal DOM rendering situation where you just have like a really long list of properties that's not like human readable necessarily, or if you have some complex properties, like if you're trying to show attributes on DOM elements where like the Vue tools kind of just, I like this actually, that they just show the tag and then you have the separate props window on the side, and that kind of fits still more with what we do in the Ember inspector already.
Yeah, it's true. So think like a tree without any of, so right now we have like the view tree, and it shows everything in it, like your models and controllers and all of that stuff. So I guess the removing that as a concern is kind of something we need to do anyway, because components don't really have any of that. So yeah, I think the split view makes sense. And we could just have the tree on the left and the, yeah, like we might as well copy basically what they have. But I'm not sure where they get those properties from. Hey, you're back.
I dropped out.
Yeah.
Suddenly you were so silent.
So those properties in there, do you know how they determine like these are the properties of the component?
I don't know. I have only been looking like high level into this from the kind of UI standpoint and what features I like to have.
Okay, because I think we could easily do like, you know, if you define the properties inside the component itself, you definitely have these, like,
yeah.
But then things you pass in, or like the current state of it, I'm not really sure. And I'm sure we can also support it. I just wouldn't off the top of my head know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But we were talking while you were dropped off, and I think we definitely like that it's like a separate view tree visualization and properties visualization, so you don't end up with that awkward like huge table of stuff. And then like, so right now we have like 90% is this huge table, and then if you want to do a couple properties, it's like sometimes you have that little tiny right side table. So doing like a half and half type of thing, I think would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Or maybe like even switch them, like have a or no, I guess half and half, because you might have too much. But yeah.
Yeah, and even for us as an incremental step right now, it's like we can almost keep the object inspector stuff as is and still use that if we want to, and we're just kind of like making maybe just a new way to render the existing tree. I feel like it'll be less. It seems like it'll be less work than trying to go with more of the React style. Yeah, like that.
So what are we looking at over here? Okay.
This is like the React tools. There you can actually see like the properties are here just inline in the tree.
Okay, so they have it like just like normal dev tools.
And here you can actually see the HTML as well. So you see, to-dos is a component, but then it has normal markup inside of there, and then it has the component. So that's also kind of nice. You see the whole structure, but then on the other hand, like I guess this one is then not as big.
Yeah, I feel like,
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, part of me says that's just since with React, like since everything there is just since it's all just JavaScript, kind of maybe it's a little easier to do that introspection. Right? I don't know with our stuff how easily. Wait, what am I saying? I guess like everything still is just JavaScript with us, but like I don't know if we can do that kind of same level of introspection sort of as easily. I've never tried to look through before and like say, hey, can we parse through all the view children of this thing and look at all the things that aren't necessarily views per se, like to be able to say like at runtime in Ember right now, can you go to a view somehow and say, hey, print me out what your contents look like, for instance.
Right, and I think that changes based on if you're using Ember 3 or like if you're in like Canary and you have like real Glimmer components running, or if you're like a step further and you have WASM stuff running, or like it's all not like there's I don't know.
That level feels more implementation dependent. Sorry, keep cutting you off.
No, it's fine.
Maybe it's like our responsibility to make us but dream future of the dev tools and then talk to the core team, say like, hey, how can we make this a reality? Maybe we need some APIs or something.
Right. So there's an issue with the running set of public APIs we need. If if that's not on there, we should have like a something that you'd have in Ember and Glimmer and everywhere that's like, for example, like get component template name or like easy stuff like that we should be able to do without having to know all this crazy private API. But I think for right now, I would build out the components view with like Ember 3.0 in mind, and we could do a check and say like if you're on 3.0, show it. Otherwise, you get the previous stuff. Like not a complete separate branch type of thing like we have for 2.7, but just like a feature flag. So with that in mind, we should be able to use pretty stable newer stuff and like implement a completely different thing here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think basically, I don't know if it would be any harder to do like the React way, like if you get all of that HTML for free when you're grabbing the components anyway. But it feels like like just showing the actual Ember components would be an easier first step. So maybe we just copy the view tools way to start, get like a beta or alpha or whatever you want to call it of a split screen, just componentry and properties of those components, and go from there, I guess.
Yeah.
Does that sound good to you guys?
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Yeah, there's less like UX decisions for us to make along the way that way too, I think. Like,
Yeah.
it's cool. Yeah.
I'm gonna try to run these tests again. I forgot I was starting these, but
Oh yeah. While we're waiting, do you from the stuff that we did at EmberConf, is that stuff pushed up to your GitHub repo?
No.
Okay.
I need to push it.
Just push sometime. It's cool.
Yeah.
I went to go look and I realized I didn't have some of your latest stuff and I was like, I have no idea how the Chrome APIs for this work.
Yeah, I'll push it after the meeting.
No worries.
I'm taking my first like inspector work session next week.
So do you guys how do we want to break up while we're still waiting on these tests to run, the work on this? Like I guess the styles there isn't a ton to do because it's just kind of a split screen side by side. So it's not like I couldn't do it. But we obviously don't want to step on each other's toes. So
yeah, is this one of those things where it feels like this feature is like almost no Ember debug stuff and mostly just in the actual app? Does that sound right?
Yes, I think so. Because we should have all the info we need somewhere in Ember debug right now.
I think
we just are gonna have to massage how we grab it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like, is it wrong to think that this almost just feels like you're taking what's already in the view tree that we have right now when you would click components, and is there any information missing from that current representation of the view tree that we would need?
I don't think so. I'm not sure. What happens if I don't actually use Inspector a ton, to be honest.
Okay.
Let me see. So if you go into components, I guess I should share my screen. Okay. Oh, come on, Chrome. Where are you? There you go. Here's the components. We've got like, actually this might not be a good, well, this will work.
I mean, first step is just to take that data and represent it in a tree.
Honestly, that might get us pretty close. We'll have to do some of the expansion and the collapsing and stuff, but I think it might all enough of it. Yeah, if you would just pretend wrap tags around those things, you might be fairly close.
So this is like we've already, if you click the little like print the thing, under adders, you've just got all the adders. So like we've got those, and we've got the template names over here. So all we need to do is like basically just take this name part, make it less table-y, make it look, maybe we do something where we do a check for if you are using Ember or Glimmer, and do like if it's Glimmer, put like angle brackets on these, and if it's Ember, put curlies.
Curlies, yeah.
That makes sense.
And just show the tree, and then show the adders over here somewhere. Doesn't have to be like interactive to the point of being able to change the adders or any of that yet.
Well, I mean, what you might be able to get to, I'm trying to think, like if you pull up the object inspector on the right, like I can't remember what you click on. If you click on one of the components over there, do we get? Doesn't work that way now, does it?
I'm not sure.
Oh, see.
What it does.
Scroll. I'm trying to remember, like, because normally you can pull up the viewer of the component instance. I thought you. Does that sound right here? Can't you do that somehow here? Like,
I thought you would see there under viewer component something to click on.
There's a way to configure this menu at the very.
Okay, here we go. So we're missing.
There's
Like
a
these
configuration.
components aren't here.
Go up to the very top of this thing. Go to the scroll to the very top here. Just a sec. I also gotta rearrange my
It is
windows.
at the top.
It actually works on.
And now
See here.
oh, right click on the header of this whole thing. That thing. Right click there. Try like get rid of put in template too, just for the heck of it. Okay, now now they show up.
So that seems like a bug.
There's some stuff. There's some stuff that's just weird with that table view in general. So, but I think like that to me, that's already kind of what we need. You've got the stuff there.
Yeah.
So for me, it just feels like if you're kind of like just reskin this as a simpler version of it, where you can collapse the stuff.
Yeah.
We've already got the almost.
Yes, I'm not sure why this name is separate from this view component. This should just be the name.
I don't know.
We can basically take all that extra info, template, model controller, and put that in the sidebar.
Yeah.
You just
Like,
really can.
if we have it, we can show it there. So I mean, the main thing is just to change the UI.
So I think we basically don't even need the view support. Like this is not helpful. Most of your stuff is going to be in templates, and most of this we don't have any information on anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's maybe helpful for the controllers, I guess.
It feels yeah.
But I would like almost prefer just getting rid of this view tree and doing a component tree, and then having some like make it harder to get back to the views. Like maybe have a checkbox up here to add the views back or something.
Mm-hmm. That's like as the other default. Yeah. I mean, you could almost we could start out maybe with a separate tab just to make sure people aren't like super wedded to it.
Yeah. I mean, so first we would want to have both. Like just add another tab, maybe to the bottom, so it's not like, I don't know. So they're not like, hey, the first thing used to be view tree. This is weird.
I guess all it is at this point now, it isn't. You're right. It's not even the view tree anymore. It's just the controller tree, I guess, because everything that's not a component.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we have everything we need here. Seems like, and I don't see why we couldn't just show everything that's in this. Like we really probably care more about the adders because that's the things in your component itself.
Yeah.
But we might as well show all of it just like it is. Like that's a good first step. So you literally just want like this tree styled a little better with conditional brackets and like these things, except instead of having to click them, these properties will just be there like on this other side. Does that sound like what we want?
I think that's a great first start. I mean,
Okay.
we have everything we need to do it. And yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think we pretty much do. Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, let's see.
We can just improve it from there. Like, yeah.
So I ran the whole test suite on 2.8, and it still passes.
Okay.
I don't know if there's something we're missing. Maybe we need to like actually run a real app in 2.8 and see if anything breaks. But
yeah, probably. I mean, quite possibly. It was hard. We could go back to that test that we were talking about before, I guess, and see if that's. It's still like it's still with these things. It's hard for me to know exactly like, when I look at the actions, like which message really does what. I guess.
Yeah. So this I guess so. Message sent.
Are we in the app test right now, or are we in the Ember debug test?
This is the app test.
Okay.
So I would expect the app test to fail, but maybe it's not checking. No, it's not checking the that the preview layer is there, is it? Let me see. Features, message. It's just checking that the messages are sent. It's not. Well, maybe.
I think you're right. Let's see. Yeah, at least here you're right.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I thought it would be easier to find things that we don't need, but it's not.
That's okay. I mean, it's not a horrible thing. There might not be actually that much, maybe.
Yeah, I think just as we work on files, like if you see code that you don't think is being used, just comment it out and see if things still work. rather than trying to like go through and flag things right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've covered a couple of things. I think the main other thing I was curious about is if anybody had any like grand visions or designs, or let me get back into here, or like other features they think would be cool, or things that aren't in other dev tools already, that we could add to the roadmap, or if we just really want to focus on like parity with other dev tools first.
I'm up for parity personally.
I'm definitely excited for brainstorming some nicer future of the DevTools, but I don't have anything like in my mind right now.
Okay,
but
that's
I think
fair.
like it kind of feels like we have to do some catch up at the moment. But
Yeah.
it would be good to think about where we want to be. And it's also just interesting to, I guess, also talk to the core team. I mean, with all the newer features coming, maybe can we somehow easier the adoptions of newer stuff by having kind of the dev tools supported.
I can see, yeah, I mean, there are some of those things where we talked about, like we're saying with the WASM, or with some of those things, as we move towards things that are harder to like just naively inspect, like if you can't just call view source and look at it, are there places there where like, oh, we can give you an easier window into what's actually happening inside the virtual machine right now, if there's something that needs to happen that way, or some stuff like that where we can help with that, I guess, as far as DevTools people, that'd be worth talking about, but that's probably a little ways off, and that's more like, yes, for a Glimmer thing, but
Yeah, I'm hoping that's not going to be the default suddenly soon here. So if it is, we're going to have a lot to catch up on. But yeah, that should be added to. Let me try to find that issue. Well, can't get into Chrome.
I guess maybe one other thing to talk about would be the actual just UI of the DevTools.
Yeah, for sure.
I honestly think it's quite dated.
Yep.
We could.
I mean, I do know some people that would probably be willing to help with some of that too. I can think of a few guys. So can always try to ask.
I think everything like step one, I think, is work on this component stuff, and wait, they take long. We can add in the new styles to that too, and then we can have this one shining example of a page that's like, this is the future. Does everyone like this? Does anyone have feedback or want changes? Whatever.
Yeah.
And then we can, if they like it, we can change everything over and make it look nice.
Yeah, it seems like it would be good. Yeah, I'd say do this feature stuff. Like you said, it'd be worth. We kind of have so many words. Sorry, we're kind of moving towards like a unified style guide for all of the Ember stuff in a way. It sounds like, right? So it'd be good if we can tie into that. Maybe that'd be kind of fun. Just to
So the style guide right now is more like taking all the parts of emberjs.com and like componentizing them. So it's maybe not useful for us. I mean, we may want to, if they're sticking with the Ember colors, like the orange and the off orange or whatever the different colors are. We may want to tie some of those in, but I feel like they wouldn't lend themselves necessarily well to DevTools.
Yeah, actually, you're right. They could just be distracting. You'd be like, oh, turn it off.
Yeah. So I think maybe some subtle stuff, like maybe use the orange for like calling out important things, could be like the Ember orange, but then like just have something modern and nice looking. But yeah, if you guys have design ideas or design resources who want to mock things out, or just if you want to, if you have the design in your mind and you want to implement it straight in the real thing, feel free to do that too. I generally can't do well at that. I have go through like 10 iterations before I decide what I like. So
I just feel like we can design it as a web app or a website instead of like now it's more trying to be a real application, if you will.
Right.
In the gray is and how it's all divided and stuff. I mean, we have more flexibility, and I mean, like the Vue dev tools that just look like a really nice web app instead of a, you know.
Okay, so less DevToolsy and more web app that happens to do DevTools stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm fine with that. So,
but that's again, we just need to put some work into mocking something up, doing some designs.
If you want, I'm happy to take a first crack at maybe keeping the object inspector and trying to do what we talked about of just like maybe that simplest first step of getting just a component tree that's basically a minimal representation of the view tree where you can collapse and expand. Do some of that stuff just to at least give us something to start with, if you want.
Yeah, so we can iterate. Like step one could literally be copy the view tree, use like enable the component thing, like the checkbox by default, remove that checkbox, and then you just have the two tabs for like component and view, and then get that in.
Yeah.
Then change it to be like change the side by side, nice looking thing. Then style that. Then all of these things.
So related to that, because we were working on the context menu, as a part of that, I actually removed that checkbox, the component checkbox, and it's just on by default. So maybe it would make sense just to land that PR and then work on top of that.
So I think if you take that and also like add back the legacy view one, but keep what you have and like rename it to component tree instead of view tree and have both that can coexist. So you'll have one tab that has the component thing enabled by default and one that's the old view one without the component thing. Go ahead and land that with the context menu stuff, and we'll iterate from there, if that sounds good to you.
Yeah, do we maybe want to do this on our like feature brands?
Yeah.
We can put pull request against the feature brands.
Yes, I was thinking we would make a like a master component tree issue and like do a checklist of the things we want to do. Maybe make issues for each of those checklist items, even if we want, and just start iterating on it.
Yeah.
So I'll do that now, actually. But I don't know what you guys' schedules look like. I have some free time the next couple days. I was also gonna hopefully sync up with Teddy tomorrow. Maybe go through some of the code. Maybe he'll know what we don't need. Can help me clean it up some. But does anyone want to get started on the? Well, obviously we want to get your work into that feature branch first, so we can iterate on that. But to go on top of that, does anyone want to start on it, or do you want me to look at it, or what do you guys want to do?
It's like I totally like to. I don't have much time this weekend during the day. Probably not until like Saturday, or not like predictable time. Saturday during the day, I'm kind of like taking care of my daughter, and then probably maybe some time on Sunday during the day. But I can't give you anything predictable, unfortunately. So, like, I'll at least follow along with you guys, and maybe I'll just try spiking it myself if I have some time. But I'd love to like sync back up with you guys, or at least if you meet up with Teddy, or if you guys do some work, just like put a message in the channel or just ping me, and I can try to join in. But I can't commit to leading anything at least. But I also like to do the work. So like. But I don't want to stop you guys from doing some work this weekend, basically. So like.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yes. I'm flying all day tomorrow. Maybe I can work on the plane. I don't know. Otherwise, I've like reserved Wednesdays for working on this.
Okay. Well, then maybe I should be less ambitious and work on other stuff, and we can all kind of hack on it on Wednesday. Because I've got plenty of other stuff I can work on. I don't have to do this. So yeah. So then in that case, I will get this issue written up. If you guys want to at least look at the issue and add details and stuff, then I will sync with Teddy tomorrow. Give you guys updates on that, and we'll plan to implement some of this stuff on Wednesday or whenever next week.
Okay. Yeah. I'll try to have like something spiked out by then, anyway, so I can at least point us to to something, and if I get stuck, I'll let you know. But I'll do my
Okay.
best to have
And
something up there.
I'll make a feature branch in the issue. If you want to PR into that feature branch, the stuff you have.
Okay.
Well, I'll look at that too. Sorry, my dog's being crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, was there anything else we needed to cover? Is that pretty much it?
For me, I think that's pretty much it.
Okay.
So one thing maybe when we're doing now the component tab, we want to just duplicate the view tree and just go from there and modify it as we go.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Well, I don't know. I was thinking that would be a good first step to land your PR in.
Yeah.
But
because I'm just like in my PR, I'm just removing the components checkbox and forcing it to be always on, also to solve an issue with the message passing for inspecting a component.
Is there a way even shorter term for you to programmatically enable that, like to set the binding to true instead of removing the checkbox?
Yeah, so I did that first. It was just like a back and forth in event. So I had to like wait for some calls to finish. But if we want to keep the checkbox, then I was planning on just adding the context menu when it's enabled and removing it when it's disabled. So you could only inspect once it's checked, which is
I don't
like
think we
not
need the
ideal.
checkbox. That's why I was thinking we just have two duplicated tabs, and then you could have one.
We are moving that ways anyway of always having a component. So since it makes our life easier, we can just remove it. And
yeah, so I think we should have the two tabs, one with it removed, one with it not. And we're not going to necessarily ship that like that, but that's good for us to work on, like for the feature branch.
That's true. Yeah, that makes sense.
So if that sounds good, we'll do that to start.
Okay.
Cool. Sounds good.
So yeah, I'll try to run that over the weekend. Just that change, so we can then work on top of that.
Okay. Yeah, and if you need any manpower, feel free. Like you can always ask. You get that. Yeah, you get the stuff pushed up. If you need anything, just let me know.
Yeah, I'm around too. So ping me whenever. I'm gonna do the issue in the feature branch now, and I'll ping you guys.
Great.
Okay. Great.
Cheers. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. See ya.
Thanks
Have a good weekend.